Big Aiden, Burger, Alexander? Were these really the only options for Carrie? All the pain, the tears, the drama. Where was the happily ever after? 6 years of an on and off again relationship, plus a jilted wedding in the first film, cheating in the second film, and finally, death do us part in And Just Like That. I couldn't help but wonder, was it all just a big mistake? Hello there, and welcome to my channel where I analyze and talk about TV shows that I like. Around here, the curtain is blue for a reason. There's always a reason. Let's discuss. Before we jump in, let me clarify something. In quite a few previous videos and in the comments, I have said that I do like Carrie and Big together, and I do like that they ended up together, but this isn't because I actually think they're some wonderful, amazing couple. Fact of the matter is, Carrie was always going to end up with someone. She wasn't going to end up single. If you ask me, I wish she would have ended up single, because I think that could have been a really powerful ending to the show. Creator of the show, Darren Star, wasn't even a fan of the ending. Quote, "I think the show ultimately betrayed what it was about, which was that women don't ultimately find happiness from marriage. Not that they can't, but the show initially was going off script from the romantic comedies that had come before it, and at the end, it became a conventional romantic comedy." End quote. Even the original author of the book, Candace Bushnell, who is basically the real-life Carrie, had some issues with the show. In 2017, more than 10 years after the ending of the show, Candace Bushnell tells US Weekly, "My mother always hated Aiden for some reason, so I could never really be Team Aiden. Whenever I would go home and visit my parents, my mother would say, 'Why is Carrie with Aiden and not Mr. Big? You've got to get rid of Aiden.' My mother never felt that Aiden was the right person for Carrie, so I felt obligated to take her side." "So your mom is the reason Carrie is with Big?" Garibaldi asked, to which Bushnell replied, "Perhaps." So not only was Carrie meant to be single or at least living an unconventional life at the end of the series, but even the original author felt compelled to have her end up with Big. Mind you, I also don't think Aiden and Carrie were that great together, but what a mess. Having Carrie end up being single would have been an amazing choice, and I would have preferred that. But if the choice is between Alexander and Big, yeah, I'm picking Big for sure. But I still have a problem with the ending of the show, the movies, and the sequel show, And Just Like That. It all just didn't seem worth it. It got to a point where all of the betrayal, the pain, the drama, it just didn't add up comparatively to the so-called bliss that Carrie and Big had. In the very first episode of And Just Like That, we see Carrie and Big 10 years later after the second movie. Carrie is about 55 years old and Big is about 64 years old. It seems as though they're happy together and they've fallen into a comfortable routine with each other where they listen to an album every evening, they cook dinner together, and they like to go to the Hamptons. It all falls apart by the end of the very first episode when Big has a heart attack and dies. Yup, we barely get one episode of seeing Carrie and Big's so-called happily ever after before he dies. After dealing with the funeral arrangements, seeing that Carrie didn't actually know Big as well as she thought she did by learning that he had a beloved childhood dog that she never heard of, learning that Big left $1 million to Natasha in his will, and the fact that she didn't even know his computer passwords, she comforts herself with the fact that at least they were both happy together in the end. It's been a rough few weeks, but I keep reminding myself that at least we were happy. You know, in the end. Never been happier. Doesn't that make it sadder? Oddly, no, it helps. It's a happy sad. She says this before the reading of the will, where she learns that Big left Natasha $1 million, and she's left with 100 questions. Okay, let's say Natasha and Big were in touch. What's your worst fear? That he regretted choosing me over her? That she had an affair with him to get back at me? I'm really mad at Big. I almost forgot how I used to feel all those years ago. You know, so nervous and insecure and desperate. Like what we had wasn't enough. Like I wasn't enough. And I just hate that after all the good years, this is what I'm left with. He ruined our happy, sad ending. Grief is absolutely capable of destroying you and turning you into someone you're not, making you say things you would never say. But we all saw their entire relationship, minus the amazing 10 years that they supposedly had. So we know there is a ton of truth to what Carrie is saying. It is ridiculous that she had to find out about the $1 million left to Natasha at the reading of the will. What kind of person lets their widow find out something like that after they're already dead? Big, apparently. Realistically, Big had his lawyers draft up his will either months or years before he actually died, so he had all that time to drop that bombshell on Carrie. But he didn't, because he knew full well it would lead to an argument. So after 10 years of happiness, there still isn't that level of trust between them, that level of communication. About a year after Big's death, Carrie decides to hit up Aiden, and we learn that he's actually divorced and still very much interested in starting a relationship with Carrie. It's passionate and filled with happiness, and although I do feel it was a bit ridiculous to seriously bring back Aiden for a third time, I can understand a widow seeking out someone from the past that can provide some warmth, comfort, and companionship, especially someone that was connected to Big in some way. It almost feels like she can grab a piece of Big through Aiden because they're connected through her. These past couple of weeks with Aiden have been amazing. I think maybe I was always holding a piece of myself back with Aiden because of Big. Like I couldn't or I wouldn't allow myself to go there fully with Aiden, to just feel this connection. And I'm just wondering, was that connection always there and I just didn't want to accept it? And I've been asking myself, was Big a big mistake? And there we have the root of this video's discussion. I talk about Carrie's possible limerence rather than love that she has with Big in this video, and how she compares every single person she's with to Big, and that nobody could ever measure up because she just could not see past Big. She could not see any other possibility or entertain anything outside of Big, including just being by herself, being single. And I have to agree with her that Big was a big mistake. Now, I'm not a widow, and I hope I never become a widow, but I've been with my husband for a very happy almost 10 years, and when I look at Carrie and Big's relationship, the math just isn't adding up. 6 years of on-again, off-again dating that included multiple breakups because Carrie wanted more and asked for more. An affair, Big packing up and moving to California without even telling her. She had to just find out by randomly stopping by his apartment and seeing all his things packed up. Then, after the series, 4 years of dating steadily, no breakups. But then Big jilting Carrie, and both of them not contacting each other for almost a year. Finally getting married at the end of the second movie, Carrie cheating on Big with Aiden in the second movie, reconciling, then skipping forward 10 years that were apparently amazing, and then Big dies. Maybe it's not fair to look at a relationship in this mathematical sort of way, where we're just counting up the good years and counting up the bad years and comparing them side by side, but why not? We do it with everything else in our life. In fact, it's one of the central conversations in the show. The girls are constantly counting up the years they've lived and the years they have left and making major life decisions based on the time they've spent and the time that they supposedly have left. Charlotte wants to hurry up and find a husband so that she can start having kids because she doesn't want to reach a certain age and then start having kids. She quickly marries Trey after just 6 weeks. Then, after being separated for the majority of their marriage, she and Trey quickly start trying for a baby shortly after reconciling. These decisions ultimately changed her life forever because this is how she meets Harry, and they make the decision to adopt because the IVF wasn't working and time was passing them by. Miranda makes the decision to ultimately keep Brady, and it's a numbers game. Charlotte only has a 15% chance, and she's really trying. What if I wake up at 43 and find that my one semi-decent ovary gave up and I can't have kids? 43? That's my scary age. Mine's 45. This happened against all the odds. My stupid egg found its way to the 3 sperm he had left. God, is this my baby? I mean, what am I waiting for? We have Samantha that struggles with being the oldest friend in the group and constantly fights against society telling her to do certain things just because she's a woman or because she's a certain age. And with Carrie, her age and how she has spent her years is brought up constantly. You string me along for 2 years, then you marry some 25-year-old girl after only 5 months? How old are you? 38? The Russian doesn't want to have kids. He had a vasectomy. Don't you want to have the option for a baby? Well, yes, but it is my experience that men like him don't come along that often. But we're 38. These are the years. Yes, I know. I've heard I'm running out of time. At our age, you have to be able to talk about having children if you think it might get serious. That attitude, by the way, that awareness on the part of a woman that time is ticking is very sexy to a man. Now, it would be nice if we all had unlimited time to make certain decisions in life, but fact of the matter is, we don't have unlimited time. It would be nice if we all died at 100 years old, but that's not the reality. Yeah, the average is 85 years old? But plenty of people die in their 50s and 60s, and you have to genuinely ask yourself, how do I want to spend my life? The way you spend your days is the way you spend your life, isn't it? Carrie says this in the second movie after she kisses Aiden and cheats on her husband, Big. I guess I really missed who I used to be, and Aiden was such a big part of that, and yes, I wanted the flirting, and yes, I wanted the attention, but I didn't want the kiss. The minute I kissed Aiden, I remembered who I used to be, someone just running around New York like a crazy person, trying to get the one man I loved to love me back. And now he does love me, and he wants to sit on a couch in New York City with me. And I really hope my past hasn't screwed up my future. And what's so bad about a couch anyway? Oh my god, I'm having a midlife crisis. Even when she was with Big, and they were settled and things were calm, she still wasn't really happy. Isn't it convenient that those 10 happy years that Big and Carrie had aren't shown to us? It's because it'd be incredibly difficult to write. The writers had written themselves into a corner because how could they possibly have a comfortable, bliss-filled marriage when the entire foundation of their relationship, everything that they are, is the hot and cold, push and pull dynamic between them? It's a relationship myth to think that people like Carrie and Big would seriously have a happily ever after and never run into the exact same issues they had before. Season 2, episode 8 has an interesting conversation about this. This married man fell madly in love with my friend, Amanda's friend, Ashley, and he said he would get a divorce, and he did. They got married, they moved to Connecticut, and he is this amazing husband and father. Never happened. Excuse me? Urban relationship myth, unbelievable fairy tales concocted by women to make their love life seem less hopeless. Except it makes you feel even more hopeless, because this fabulous magical relationship is never happening to you. It did happen, like the one about the guy who couldn't commit, and the woman broke up with him and moved to Kansas. One night she comes walking home in the rain, always in the rain. He stands there in front of her door with an engagement ring. He says, "Marry me," and they live happily ever after. But it can happen. People do live happily ever after. It happened to my friend, Amanda's friend. It's always a friend who knows a friend. Honey, have you ever actually known anyone whose relationship changed magically overnight? Yes! Look at Carrie and Big. Their relationship is totally different than it used to be. But it wasn't really, was it? We know this because after season 2, episode 8, Big still doesn't want to commit to Carrie. He marries Natasha. They have an affair, and the rest of the series happens. Even in real life, we see examples of this. Candace Bushnell is Carrie. She wrote Sex and the City based on her and her friends' experiences in Manhattan, and she dated a Mr. Big, which is actually Ron Galati, publisher of Vogue, GQ, Vanity Fair, and co-founder of Talk Magazine. During his peak years in magazine publishing, Galati was known for his extravagant lifestyle, which included driving around in a Ferrari, smoking cigars, and maintaining residences in Manhattan and Long Island. He was described as having access to corporate perks, including a car and a driver, and country club memberships, with business expenses covering most entertainment costs. This is Mr. Big. He had a wife. They divorced, then he dated models, and then Candace Bushnell. They broke up, and did they ever magically get back together 6 years later? No, he's married to ski champion Lisa Wilcox, and they live on a farm in Vermont. He did an interview for NBC5 and stated, quote, "I really think that if I had stayed in that lifestyle, I would have been dead to it. I don't think I could have survived it. You know, I had the Ferraris and I drove the cars. I used to smoke 10 cigars, Cuban cigars, 10 a day, and the beach houses, the New York apartments. It was just the lifestyle that I had." Even Ron and Lisa's love story starts sounding really familiar to us. We were in Aspen and I said to my friend, "Go find out who that person is over there. Who shows up to a ski lodge with like slicked back hair? I gotta know who he is." And plus, he was sitting next to a good friend of mine from Homer, a famous skier, said Lisa. But the thing is, within the 4 days we talked about the most real things about life and what we wanted in life, and it was the timing. We both wanted the same thing. A lot of things that happened to me in this industry, and I was wanting a change. And he was wanting a change, and we both wanted to create a new life together with a child, said Lisa. All about the timing. Isn't that Miranda's taxi cab theory? Sometimes you just know we're the right match. It's fate. It's not fate. His light is on, that's all. What light? Men are like cabs. When they're available, their light goes on. They wake up one day, they decide they're ready to settle down, have a baby, whatever, and they turn their light on. The next woman they pick up is the one they'll marry. It's not fate, it's dumb luck. Sorry, I refuse to believe that love is random. Please, it's all about timing. You gotta get them when their light's on. Now, I'm not saying that's Ron Galati and Lisa Wilcox's love life. I don't know these people, but I am saying that inspiration was drawn from them and added into the show. And because it's a TV show and because the producers are trying to get high views, certain unrealistic, fantastical elements are added into the show for our entertainment. It is no wonder that the majority of episodes in Sex and the City received about 4 to 6 million views. And the final episode, where Carrie and Big finally get back together, received more than 10 million views. People were ecstatic that they got back together after watching the series finale. Of course, that was before the following 2 movies and the sequel show. When all of this is put together, I seriously think Big was a big mistake. I think Carrie exhausted herself and spent so much of her time, energy, and tears, and for what? To be humiliated over and over and over again, even being humiliated after he died. The sequel series ends with how the original series should have ended. Carrie is single and focusing on herself and learning how to be happy with the life that she has built. That is a powerful message that I wish was shown in the early 2000s when the original series ended. But hey, what do y'all think? Was Big a big mistake? Should Carrie have ended up single by the end of the series? What about by the end of the movies? Let me know down in the comments, and if you have any suggestions for future videos, let me know them as well. Thanks so much for watching. See y'all next time.